you have many students who go to college. And the way the swarm controls young people, they have their claws into them because by the time a student comes out of college, they have close to a couple $100,000 in student loans. And the reality is that kid went to college thinking, or his parents thought he was going to get some vocation and some type of education. And the reality is he comes out with some wacky degree in something, I don't know, the sexual life of iguanas or aardvarks or some shit like this. He doesn't know how to do math. They can't add numbers. They don't know what a differential equation is. They don't know the second law of thermodynamics. They have no skills in science, technology, or math, as we say, the STEM fields. And this is essential to succeed in the modern world. So this is how we solve it. And I've said this before, and others like Vivek the Snake have stolen my idea and never even attributed it to me. But I was the first one to say what needs to happen is that if you get a loan, so if you go and you get a loan and your parents are mortgaging their house so you could go to some school, guess what? The guarantor of that loan must be the university, all right? So the co-signer of that loan must be the university. So that means if you get a degree and you don't get a job, that means the banks are going to go after the university saying, hey, this kid doesn't have a job, he's not paying his monthly loans, which means the university is on the hook, not the student. So now this makes the university accountable to make sure the student is receiving proper guidance. If he wants to do some wacky humanities shit, great, but he's getting skills when he's coming out so he can actually contribute to society and have a meaningful job. This does not mean we don't like writers and artists and all those things. I do a lot of artwork myself, but that has nothing to do with you actually having basic skills. So we put the university on the hooks to do this. The other thing I would do immediately is that a major university like Harvard in Cambridge, for example, must completely devolve itself and give all of its land and all of its institution back to the Native Americans. They talk about reparations. So Harvard overnight will be forced to rightfully give back all of its endowment, all of its land in Cambridge, back to the people of Cambridge and also to the Native Americans. Very simple. They talk a big game about they want to help the poor people, the blacks, the red man, and all this. Let's start with Harvard because as an institution, Harvard University is one of the most corrupt institutions. It is a breeding ground of all these false narratives which are used to manipulate people. And all the ideas that we have in policies come out of Harvard. These are big pieces, right? You're going to basically destroy the entire swarm's apparatus of control, which is the center of power of academia. The other piece that's going to happen in the first 7 minutes, 7 weeks, all of these will be framed or timed, but no less than 7 months, will be that people also need to understand that the way research funding occurs in academia is you have the head of a department, let's say the head of the cancer department at Harvard. There's the #1 cancer journal over here, let's say the oncology journal. And then over here, there is the National Institute of Health. What's interesting is the guy who's the head of the Department of Oncology at Harvard also sits on one of the review boards at the National Institute of Health and is also a journal editor at the #1 oncology journal. Now, why is this important? When people file to get their research funded, let's say Jason here comes from a small school and he's got an innovative idea for research and he applies for funding, this triangle of nepotism makes sure that Jason will never get any grants from the government. So anyone who is a head of a department of any university cannot sit on the board of NIH, any of the review committees, and cannot also be a journal editor. This is a serious conflict of interest. And this is why no major breakthroughs have taken place in medicine, because you have this collusion taking place. All of that will be made illegal. And anyone refusing to agree to that will also go to prison for 22 months. This will happen immediately. We have to go clean up academia because the academics are a central part of the swarm, because that's where all of the ideas come from which manipulate society. We need to build a bottoms-up movement. Go to shivaforpresident.com and volunteer.